A lot of autistics are trying to be safe in a time when we are being disenfranchised by our government. Autistics are in places where they are hearing conversations about what is causing the quote, autism epidemic, end of quote. Maybe autistics work for a company where their manager is celebrating the dismantling of DEI policies. Many autistics are masking more than ever because they don't feel safe. Matthew, the hashtag actually autistic coach, joins me for a remarkable conversation about autistic leadership, avoidance through masking, on this episode of today's Autistic Moment.
Take a breath, and open up your eyes. It's a brand new day. Watch the sunrise, and every time you feel you're down to yourself, look inside, you'll find you got what it takes. Yeah, I can tell, 'cause you can make it. You can reach the top. Here's your chance, just take it. The ones to there, never stop. You got what it takes, yeah, you'll find a way. There's nothing left to say. Today is your day. Hold my hand, hold my hand. You know that you're mine. We're in this together, just us forever. So let yourself shine. Every time you feel you're down on yourself, look inside, you'll find you got what it takes. Yeah, I can tell. You can make it. You can reach the top. Here's your chance, just take it. The ones to there, never stop. You got what it takes, yeah, you'll find a way. There's nothing left to say. Today is your day. You got what it takes, yeah, you'll find a way. There's nothing left to say. Today is your day.
Today is your day on Today's Autistic Moment, a podcast for autistic adults by an autistic adult, where autistic adults get to be yourselves in a space that is safe and made especially for you. While listening to this podcast, you stim and fidget all you like. This first segment of today's Autistic Moment is sponsored by the Autism Society Minnesota, known as Awesome throughout Minnesota's autism community. As Minnesota's first autism resource for more than 50 years, Awesome serves the whole state, the whole spectrum for the whole life. Visit Awesome at ausm.org. Please visit todaysautisticmoment.com, where you can listen to the podcast, get transcripts, program updates, and read the guest bios pages. You can also visit the Adult Autism Resources links page. Please visit the Future Shows page to read the titles, guests, and descriptions of all shows coming up. The transcripts are sponsored by Minnesota Independence College and Community. There is a link provided to get access to a document form of the transcript without the purple colored background so that you can print it without using up the ink on your printer. The written document has a font that is accessible for dyslexics. There are additional transcripts available in Spanish, German, French and Chinese simplified. Please follow Today's Autistic Moment on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky. Join Today's Autistic Moment community group page on Facebook for conversations and updates. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel at Today's Autistic Moment to watch Autistic Voices Roundtable discussions. At the beginning of the last episode, I mentioned producing a special edition, What We Have to Say. I am in the process of gathering guests, scheduling interviews, and working on a date to publish it. I will be publishing it sometime in June or July. I will keep you updated about the special edition episode. Thank you for your patience. After this first commercial break, Matthew Lawrence will join me to talk about autistic leadership, avoidance through masking. Today's Autistic Moment can be downloaded and heard on most podcast apps, including Apple, Google Play, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, TuneIn, Pandora, Amazon Music, Audible, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser. If you are looking for the transcripts, go to todaysautisticmoment.com, click on the episode you want to listen to, and follow the directions to find the transcripts. Thank you for listening to Today's Autistic Moment. Today's episode is brought to you by Matthew, the #ActuallyAutistic coach. If you're an autistic adult seeking support, or a friend, family member looking to better understand and assist autistic adults, Matthew is your go-to resource. As a seasoned teacher, consultant, and mentor, Matthew is dedicated to empowering the autistic community. He offers free support groups for autistic adults, educational workshops, and online meditation circles for mindfulness. For organizations, Matthew provides specialized training sessions on inclusivity. With over 15 years of mentoring autistic entrepreneurs, he offers personalized one-on-one coaching, guiding individuals to start businesses, manage careers, and build healthy relationships while embracing their authentic autistic selves. Matthew believes in thriving, not just surviving. Visit theautisticcoach.com today for a more empowered future.
Hello, autism community. My name is Lisa Morgan. I'm an autistic adult too, and I know firsthand what it feels like to be unintentionally harmed by well-meaning professionals when reaching out for help. My passion is to help autistic people find and use their own unique strengths to help themselves. Are you rule-based, a literal thinker, have a focused interest? Let's figure out together how to use the strengths of autism to find solutions. I offer life coaching for autistic adults and individualized workshops for professionals. To find out more, go to autismcrisissupport.com.
Matthew Lawrence, welcome back to today's Autistic Moment. It is always a pleasure to have you here, so welcome.
Thanks for having me, Philip.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad to have you back. Matthew, I invited you here because, as you know, my focus this year is navigating the future of multidimensional autistic leadership. And one of those multidimensions is that autistics are avoidance through masking. There have been many books and posts and blogs and books and everything written about masking and unmasking. And it's a hot topic in light of a lot of things that are going on around us. And so what I want us to do is talk about how masking is a form of autistic leadership. And, we want to talk about all of this in light of, like I said, recent events, and also to help our autistic adults to be leaders in this time. And this just happens to be one of those important subjects. Let us start off by building a foundation for this conversation. What does avoidance through masking for autistic adults to be multidimensional leaders here? Let's set that tone, and I'm going to let you begin. Go ahead.
I think it's important for me to say how I understand masking. Right? Masking, as you said, is probably the hottest topic in the autism community and the autistic community for the last 4 years or so. A lot of books coming out on it, a lot of different takes on it. Not everybody agrees on what masking is. Not everybody agrees on what unmasking is. And I'm going to add another one in there, which makes things more complicated. Ultimately, for me, masking is a number of strategies that we do in order to have our needs met in the short term, which negate our long-term needs. Primarily, we mask in order to stay safe, right? So masking there's this binary which is out there that masking equals bad and unmasking equals good. And generally, that's true in that, yes, masking in the long term is going to have a negative impact on our mental and physical health. Yet, it does meet our needs in the short term. It does keep us safe right now. And indeed, right, we do need to stay safe. So let's never forget that there is a safety aspect, and staying safe and not being harmed does have a value. So when it comes to avoidance, right, avoidance is ultimately always about taking back autonomy.
Right.
It's about being independent. It's about staying safe.
Let's talk a little more about the positive aspects of masking as well as the negatives. I think the common notion is, again, it's about keeping us safe, but it also comes with consequences to our mental health. So let's talk a little bit more about that and how, again, it is a form of leadership. Go ahead, Matthew.
I liken masking to a payday loan. It's going to give you the cash that you need to pay your bills today, but it's going to come with a 5,000% interest rate.
Yeah.
And you're going to pay for it down the line.
Yeah.
That being said, right, finance has benefits when you need something right now. Right? And ultimately, safety is our number one concern. So, regarding leadership, right? For us to be able to, for me, masking, it's a complicated thing, right? On the one hand, I don't want to sit here and say, yes, masking is this wonderful thing you do in order to be a leader in the autistic community, and masking is absolutely necessary. And also, I'm not going to sit here and say that if you don't unmask, if you are masked all the time, then you are a bad autistic person and you're a bad leader and you're setting a poor example for everybody. No. I think that would be a very privileged thing to say,
Right.
right? Not everybody has the ability to unmask, and for most people, it might actually be extremely unsafe to be unmasking in all situations, right? I think it's on autistic leaders to speak honestly about what it is and what your situation is,
Mm.
right? I live my life primarily what I would consider unmasked. But I'm a white passing, male passing person
Right.
living in Western Europe, where I have the ability to do that with very little physical danger to my person,
Right.
right? Not everybody has that same opportunity. So it'd be kind of silly for me to say that that has to be the way for everybody.
Right.
Ultimately, I think the biggest leadership characteristic and when we need to show our fellow autistic people, what we need to show the public at large is that safety is important.
Right.
Now, what I would like is that we do think together, how can I stay safe in a way that will be more sustainable for me?
Right.
Right? How do I model that? Because ultimately, yes, masking is going to come with that 5,000% interest rate, and it's going to wreck us and send us into burnout. So how can we, step by step, slowly by slowly, where can we find spaces? Where can we find situations where we can unmask in a sustainable, healthy way for us? And how can we as autistic leaders model for everybody that, you know what? No, maybe those popular books that tell you just to unmask and YOLO, maybe that's not going to be the right thing for you.
Right.
And vice versa. Maybe it's also not us for leaders to tell everybody, no, just keeping your head down and get through it and stay safe and never think about changing, because that's also, I don't think, the safest way, right? Ultimately, there's
Right.
nuance there, and I think we need to speak about masking in a nuanced position with every single person in every population in everybody's specific situation, right? I find that when people start understanding they're autistic and start learning about masking, we always say you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, yet somehow everybody thinks that we should mask and unmask in the same way.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people who are promoting that idea, and I think that isn't exactly maybe the best piece of advice out there.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, in this era where we are experiencing increasing marginalization, namely because of the actions of Kennedy and several groups that are determined to, you know, come out with a quote unquote explanation for an autism epidemic, which is ridiculous. The thing is, too, is that this is going to force a lot of autistics to mask for their safety. So, and in many cases, masking has a self-care piece to it. And so I do sense that this is going to cause a lot more masking, which means we also need to think about making sure we have saved ourselves some safe spaces where we can unmask to recover from burnout. And so please feel free to comment on some of that.
Autistic people are living in dangerous times. I mean, there's no way for us to hide that fact.
Right.
Autistic people are living in dangerous times, and it's not only in the United States.
Right.
Things that happen in the United States affect autistic people all over the world because the policies that are made and the zeitgeist of the culture and society spread throughout the world. America has an influential position in that. And also, in other countries in the world, being autistic isn't a cakewalk either. It never has been. It might be difficult for some people to hear, but the United States is either the most or the second most affirming place in the entire world for autistic people to live, even today.
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing, because obviously we're under a lot of attack and we're in danger.
Right. Yeah.
And our goal is to stay safe.
Right.
And that's why, I once saw this meme that said that, dystopian novels are what happens to white people, what happens to marginalized people every day. Have you seen that before?
No, but go ahead.
But that's what's happening, right? Like, autistic people are worried now. And people of color, queer people, trans people have been in danger for years and been yelling out about the danger that's happening in our country, in the zeitgeist of our country.
Right.
And autistic people of color, autistic queer people, autistic non-white people have been calling out of the dangers that are happening. Now everybody else is waking up to that fact.
Yeah.
So in many ways, nothing is changing in that now everybody is needing to be extra safe.
Yeah.
And in other ways, it's very changing because now for the first time, what many of us have been talking about for years, and many of your guests and you and I have been talking about this attack on autistic people for years on this program. What's been happening behind the scenes and only in the view of those who are involved in autism politics is now up front, and it's in the mainstream media, and people are speaking about it, and it's on the minds of thought leaders and in newspapers and magazines, etc. Ultimately, it's on those of us who have been doing this to remind people that yes, your job is ultimately to stay safe. It is not upon every single autistic person in the United States and the world to get out on the front lines and put themselves in danger.
Yeah.
That is not fair. Just because you're autistic doesn't mean that you need to become an activist.
Yeah.
And if you have the spoons to do it, this is a time that's good to do
Yeah.
it because this is the time that it's needed. But also, people shouldn't feel the need when they're sitting in burnout and they're danger and they're scared that they need to get out there, right?
Right.
Like that guilt trip isn't the way to go. I'm out there. You're out there. We have the spoons.
Yeah.
Thank God, right? And you know what? Maybe we don't have them all the time, and maybe we go beyond our own limits, and we're not good models for people in that regard. But we do it as much as we can. But people should be aware. If you can, speak up, post, write to your elected officials, speak to people,
Yeah.
go to rallies, organize. And if you can't, if that's not going to be safe for you, if that's going to be dysregulating for you, if that's going to put you in a deeper burnout, then you don't owe it to anybody to do that.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it just to quote unquote unmask, don't.
I have a little bit of a different take on why a lot of this is happening. And my take is that this is happening because our movement for a greater acceptance of autistic people actually has been succeeding. And quite frankly, this is happening because the last thing they want to see is for us to succeed further. So they're going to do what they can do to push us backwards. So what Matthew just said, I agree with that. I also agree that every autistic person right now needs to find their way to advocate and do your advocacy work in a way that works for you. If you are somebody who writes books, write them. If you are somebody who can write letters to your local newspaper, do it. If you are somebody who happens to have a good audience among your family who will hear what you have to say, now's the time to say it. If you are somebody who can put up a good argument with those who are defending this kind of thing, do it. If you are somebody who you just need to do your own self-care, your own masking to do the best you can, then that's what I suggest that you do. The one thing that I don't want autistics to feel at this particular time is that we are completely 100% helpless. There's nothing we can do. That is one thing I completely disagree with, and I would say, while I understand some people are going to take that point of view, this is not the time to take that point of view. There are things you can do. There are things you can probably do that we might not be thinking of. You know, if you're a musician who writes music and can produce music that can grab people's attention, do it. I mean, this is a great time for those of us, many of us who have great creative minds, to really put that creativity forward and really use it to make a difference, because that's how these things happen. This is an opportunity. I see this as an opportunity for our best autistic advocacy strategies to come forward and do your thing the best you possibly can. It's going to be worth it, trust me. And let me just say that I need to say this out loud because I want our autistic advocates to hear me. Just because we put forth all this effort doesn't mean we'll necessarily win. However, I'm a believer that if you're going to go down advocating and go down fighting for your rights rather than having done absolutely nothing. I do believe that we can win this. I also believe that it is always possible to do something, however small, and somehow it will make a difference to the greater autistic community. So that's where I am. All of this is occurring because of how successful we have been. We have had some authors who have written some great books about any number of issues, and this is the pushback with all of that. That's what I think is beginning to happen. So that's why I am having these conversations. And I'd like to tell you that this is simple for me, but no, absolutely not. My brain is really feeling the weight of what is happening with our beloved autistic community right now. So I just want to say that out front. After this next commercial break, Matthew and I will talk about creating environments to change the rules, about masking and staying safe. We will also talk about how our interconnection with each other can help us with our self-care to manage the stress we are experiencing. Are you wondering if you are autistic and want advice about where to look for options to find out? Are you a newly identified autistic and want to ask questions that no one else will answer? Do you want to talk with someone who is autistic who can identify with your experiences? Are you looking for resources? You can now contact me for TAM Autistic Consulting Services. As the host of today's Autistic Moment, I can answer your questions and give you some autism education to make recommendations to help you decide what other services you might need. Go to todaysautisticmoment.com and click on the menu option TAM Consulting Services to learn more about my consultation services and make an appointment.
Life managing you, or are you managing your life? Do you want to find more peace in your life? For many of our clients, self-care is a key to success. Skill building and feedback is essential for self-care. Looking Forward Life Coaching helps provide structure through our person-centered approach that has demonstrated growth for many of our clients. If you or a loved one needs help with structure and strategies around self-care, please visit us at www.lookingforwardlc.org, email us at info@lookingforwardlc.org, or call us at 612-504-7414. Self-care and resiliency can help you weather the storms of life. Looking Forward Life Coaching helps change stumbling blocks of life into stepping stones toward success.
MICC provides transformative education and training for autistic and neurodivergent adults to live independently, work purposefully, and thrive in community. With hands-on learning and caring guidance, MICC participants accomplish things they never imagined, from daily living tasks like taking public transportation or managing finances, to building and sustaining a career and lifelong friendships. Learn more about our inclusive community in Richfield, Minnesota at micc.org.
Support for today's Autistic Moment comes from Best Care Home Care Agency. Best Care offers PCA services, and your friend or family member could be your paid PCA. Best Care also offers homemaking, FMS services, and 2, 4, 5D services throughout the metro and greater Minnesota. Visit their website, bestcaremn.com, to learn more about their services. Autistics are facing enormous barriers this year. Today's Autistic Moments guests and programs are working to bring you conversations with autistics who are engaged in the work of self-care and advocacy. Individually and collectively, autistics can become leaders in conversations about autism from the autistic person's point of view. Today's Autistic Moment is seeking your financial support to continue the important work we are doing together. Supporters can contribute in several ways. Number one, you can make a one-time donation through the coffee icon, that's KO-FI icon, when you tap on Support Today's Autistic Moment on todaysautisticmoment.com. 2, you can become a monthly supporter via Patreon. 3, you can purchase Today's Autistic Moment merchandise such as a 16-ounce drinking cup or a lapel pin from the logo shop. While donations are not tax deductible, they maintain the podcast production quality by funding studio expenses, software, and equipment. By supporting Today's Autistic Moment, listeners contribute to the important conversations and resources for the autistic community. Thank you for supporting Today's Autistic Moment. Let's move on to my second point here. We know that autistics are engaging with masking as a matter of avoidance and how we can create the environments to affect the change we need. And that's actually what we were discussing in the last segment when we were talking about how our advocacy really can make a difference here. And masking, because of its negative connotation, we have, talked about how it creates environments, but it also helps to change the rules about what autistics are capable of. So, Matthew, can you please add your comments about what we're saying here when we say creating the environments to affect some change here, especially for all our intersectional communities that are part of what is taking place at this time? Go ahead, Matthew.
I love what you said, right? Yes, things are difficult and things can get better, and we have not lost this fight, and we're just getting started.
Right.
And absolutely, we have a target on our back because we have been extremely successful in building not just awareness, but acceptance.
Yeah.
And I'm always wary when we speak about autistic anything, because it always is, when we say autistic joy, autistic relationships, autistic leadership, it's always a binary comparing it to, as if there's like holistic leadership and holistic joy and holistic relationships, etc. Right? I like to get rid of that binary and comparing ourselves to non-autistic people, and that leadership for us has nothing to do with what leadership in the non-autistic world is.
Right.
This idea that leadership means that you need to be this loud, boisterous, type A, very outward kind of show person as a leader.
Yeah.
Or you have to be diligent and quiet but prolific and put out lots of content and have lots of speaking engagements, because like that's what we have as leadership. It's like there's somebody there. I want to look at leaders in a different way.
Okay.
For me, a leader is someone who knows how to listen.
Right.
A leader, an autistic leader, is somebody who shows other autistic people that they are perfect in their own way. It doesn't mean they don't have struggles.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they're an autistic leader inspires others to understand that they are the experts of their own experience and that they are masters of their own destiny, no matter what one's outward traits look like, no matter where one lives, no matter what one's situation is that we all have the ability to be a leader simply by sharing our experiences, because just our voices can help others inspire. How many of you listening knew very little about yourselves, and then you heard somebody name something on a website or on a YouTube video or on a podcast or on a blog, and you said, oh my God, that language, that is what I'm going through.
Right.
That person was a leader for you. They led you to get somewhere, for you to grow yourself. And in that way, all of us have leadership ability. All of us have the ability to help others know themselves simply through ourselves knowing ourselves. A leader doesn't need to host a conference or have a podcast, or like the big thing now is that autistic leaders have to be the biggest social media influencers and content creators. No, your life is worth it if you don't create content. Your life is worth it just by existing.
Right.
And just us existing in our own authentic way, us being authentic and real with ourselves, unmasked in that way, where we can, that is leadership.
Yeah.
That is modeling. That I find to be the most effective type of leadership, by living by example of being authentic to yourself, which might mean, by the way, being authentic might mean in a lot of situations that, yeah, you're going to mask, because that's the way you're going to preserve energy.
Right.
That's the way you're going to stay safe. That's leadership to me.
I like the parallels that you drew, and that leadership can be just how you happen to live. One thing that my guests and I have said multiple times this season is that autistic leadership is non-hierarchical. We are not looking towards someone who is on top of everything else and everybody else is somewhere on the bottom. And you heard Carol Jean Whittington talk about how autistic leadership is collaborative in nature. And I think if I'm going to caveat off what Matthew has been saying here, is that the place that you put yourself right now, that is your place of leadership. Our leadership does not have to look like what the wider culture says leadership is, which is a position, a title, money, of course, and how much how much capital you happen to draw for having done so. Um, you know, over the history of social justice movements, we have had leaders who have literally given their lives for their causes. And yet they prove to be the people who brought about the greatest changes that we now benefit from. And the autistic community has our leaders who are writing, who are singing, who are doing whatever they're doing to organize these things. Just organizing a social group where autistics can come and share their thoughts and their concerns. There's still a leadership role in that, and that's just where that is. As far as our multidimensional and our intersectional communities are concerned, those being our LGBTQ people, people of color, autistics who are immigrants who are finding it necessary to mask so they don't get deported right now. I mean, all of that is what it is. One of the things about autistic leadership that I'm going to interject here is that it must be all inclusive of all of our autistic communities, which is going to mean that some of us are going to have to get over ourselves a little bit and let some other people in and more or less teach us a little bit more about who they are. That's part of this whole part of what we're doing here. Because where Matthew and I are about to go into my third point is that what we are now talking about is about how we are interdependent. Let's talk about how autistics are leaders through our lives in our unique contexts. And this is where we talk about some ways that we can support autistics to be proactive and responsive leaders in this time. This is, about not giving into inertia right now through fight or flight mode, but turning that into action that makes us leaders in social change. Let's talk about that with regarding to avoidance through masking and, give to our autistic community some hope that we can achieve something as we move forward in this. Go ahead, Matthew.
So it's really important to always remember that avoidance is coming from not being safe. Always comes to being safe. Now, safety takes on lots of different things. There's physical safety, there's emotional safety, there's physiological safety, health. And in many ways, we can have a lot of places in our life where we're not safe and that we're not going to be able to get those needs met.
Mm-hmm.
The amazing thing I find about our nervous systems is that we don't actually need to change everything. A lot of people think like, oh, okay, I'm in burnout. I am not having my needs met. I need to fix every trigger in my life, remove all triggers, and then I'll get out. That's an impossible task. You're never going to be able to remove all your triggers. You're never going to be able to get all your needs met. And you might not even be able to deal with your biggest triggers. You might have some of your biggest needs that aren't met. Right? So let's not think about the biggest ones. Where can we make small changes?
Right.
What small things can I change? Maybe I can change the acoustic setup of my room. And I can add some padding so I don't hear my neighbor as much. Maybe I can go out for an extra walk. Maybe I can get that extra ice cream every week. Maybe I can spend some time reading about my favorite thing every once in a while. Maybe I can stop that extra shift at work. Maybe I can take an extra hour out of my week to go to the dog park. And you'll notice that when you remove small triggers or you even add in some positive grounding things and things that give you spoons, that can open up a lot of room for you to be able to manage the harder stuff. I am scared every day, Philip, of going outside of my home. I live in a place that is extremely ableist and has been running a eugenics program and research program and registry on autistic people for years already, right? Here in France, we look at what's happening in America and say, oh, okay, well, we've been talking about this for years and nobody's been paying attention. Every day that I leave my home, I know that something bad might happen. I've been physically assaulted 4 times since the beginning of 2025 outside, for daring to be outside as a visibly, because in addition to being autistic, I'm also visibly disabled, assaulted for my disability. And I get scared. And it's hard for me, and I can't change that. I can't change the society in which I live. But I'm able to deal with it in a profoundly more expansive way today than I was 5 years ago. Because I've been able to add other things that give me spoons. I've been able to take out small things, like I don't go to the supermarket shopping when it's busy. I go at certain hours. I sleep in a little bit extra. I work a little bit less. And yeah, that means I have to earn less money. And a lot of you will hear, oh, I can't work less. Rest is not a luxury. It's a necessity. And yeah, maybe that means that you're not going to be able to do some of the things, and maybe it's going to make things financially a bit tighter. Yeah, I know. Me too. And you have more capacity to handle that stress when you're having other things that are adding into it. And having more time where you can feel safe. And I know that sounds like magic, and it sounds like nonsense. I started wearing, a few years ago, earplugs in my house, even though I wasn't outside. Life changer.
Yeah.
Life changer.
Yeah.
Small things like this. And maybe for you it's not earplugs, maybe it's something else, right? I don't want to say earplugs, because then maybe everybody's going to go out and go buy earplugs, and like that's probably not, don't just do whatever I say, right? Whatever it is for you. Maybe it's drinking extra water. Maybe it's having an extra coffee. Maybe it's doing jumping jacks. Maybe it's dancing. I don't know. But you don't have to change everything in order to be able to manage the things going on more. And if you're only going to focus on the bad, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I understand why, because a lot of us, we don't have the energy to deal with our needs. Start with one little thing, and see where that goes.
Right. Yeah. And, like I say, use this time to really indulge in your special interests, whatever those interests are. Use this time. I know what Matthew says about being afraid to go out right now. I really do everything I can not to go out unless I'm at a place where it physically can't be helped. I really have to, because actually if I stay in, I'm going to drive myself crazy. But, do those things that work best for you. I also believe that these are good times to put your best autistic self forward. I don't just mean by masking or unmasking. What I mean is whatever it is that you excel at that comes from the gift of being autistic, do indulge in that and do make it worth everything. It will indeed do wonders for you. After this final commercial break, Matthew will talk about how he can help you find some community through the collective that he works with to offer autistic peer groups, support and discussion groups, job and one-on-one support. Today's Autistic Community Bulletin Board will follow. Autistic adults aren't getting the support we need. It affects our health, our income, financial stability, and our ability to live independently. ITI Assistive Technologies is changing that. This autistic-led team has created Decide, with tools built for neurodivergent minds. One lets users quickly pick from custom lists based on their energy level. The other guides them through big decisions using simple agree-disagree statements that match their values. Visit itiassist.com/decide for more information about downloading the app to get all features for just $5 a month. On May 25th, David Gray Hammond joins us for the episode Physical Autistic Leadership. There is an unspoken bias full of misinformation that autistics do not know our own bodies. There are many facets of being autistic that are physical. Many autistics have physical disabilities. The physical side of autism has to do with interoception, proprioception, and other facets of sensory processing. David Gray Hammond has been advocating for how autistics experience pain and other illnesses, and will give us some in-depth information to advocate for our physical and medical needs. LGBTQIA+ Pride Month will be observed on today's Autistic Moment. On June 8th, Jillian Nelson, the Policy Director at the Autism Society of Minnesota, will be my guest for the episode Queer Autistic Leadership. Jillian and I will bring you an insightful conversation about queer autistic leadership in a time when queer and autistic people are being marginalized so aggressively in 2025. We will talk about how autistics and our allies for queer and autistic people can advocate for and with our communities. Thank you for listening to today's Autistic Moment. Matthew, before we wrap this up, would you please share with our audience about some of the things that you are doing as the Actually Autistic coach, some opportunities you might offer to many in our autistic community that they might take advantage of at this particular time?
Yeah. This is a time, folks, where we need autistic community more than ever.
Right. Absolutely.
Seek out communities in the wild where you live, in person if possible. Seek out virtual ones, and not just Reddit and social media, but ones where you can actually speak with your voice or your AAC, or even chat while looking at people, even if your camera's off, but ones where it is live. And I get that's not going to be for everybody. And that there are a lot of spaces out there where they become quite complicated and people are speaking over each other. Find one that works for you. But find community where you can speak with actual people, not anonymous things behind a screen, because connecting,
Right.
co-regulating with other autistic people, IRL, and IRL, again, can be online. It doesn't have to be in person.
Right.
And not just through an app on your phone, is huge. Right. You don't necessarily need to organize. If you can organize, that's great. But speak, be in space with other autistic people. It will change your life. And I don't say that to sound hyperbolic. It will change your life. We need community more than ever. I know that you want to go under a hole. I know that you have been hurt in other places, that this doesn't work for you, that you want to just be by yourself. I urge you not to do that.
Once again, talk about some of your discussion groups and some of your classes that, especially since you do classes about masking and that sort of thing. Talk about some of that and help our audience understand how they can get involved with those things.
Sure. So I'm part of a collective of autistic peer support coaches and teachers. You can check out our website at autisticcoaches.com. And we have autistic coaches who are trained in peer support, who are hosting free support groups, discussion groups, educational seminars on unmasking and self-care and job searching and one-on-one support. And there's something there for everybody. If you're an autistic queer person, for trans folks, for women, for people of color, every group, we've got something from somebody. Come check it out, autisticcoaches.com, and come meet some other autistic people. Right? Like, there's so many opportunities out there. Come on out and come meet us.
I think that's brilliant. We really do need each other in this time. So, by all means, I think that's great. Matthew, thank you so much for being here today and for having this great discussion with us. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. And I do encourage all of the people in my audience that if you are in need of resources and to find other autistics to share with, that you please look up the resources that Matthew just named. Thank you for being here, Matthew.
Thank you, Philip. Great to be here. I'm looking forward to coming back again soon.
Absolutely. Today's Autistic Community Bulletin Board. All these events and many others with their links not mentioned here are available on todaysautisticmoment.com/bulletin board. You were invited to the Adult Coffee Club for Autistic Adults in Minnesota. They are held on the second Tuesday of every month, weather permitting, at Dogwood Coffee, located at 2700 University Avenue West, Suite 100 in St. Paul, Minnesota. The zip code for your GPS is 55114. The adult coffee clubs will begin at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on May 13th, June 10th, July 8th, August 12th. Understanding Autism virtual classes are offered by the Autism Society of Minnesota. The next classes will be on May 12th from 12 to 1 p.m., June 9th from 6 to 7 p.m., July 14th from 10 to 11 a.m., August 11th from 12 to 1 p.m. Classes are free of charge, but you must register to attend. On June 6th, beginning at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Mason Esposito will present a workshop at the Autism Society of Minnesota entitled Neurodivergent Intimacy, Tools for More Fulfilling Communication, Relationship Dynamics, and Sex Lives for Neurodivergent People and Their Partners. Registration is required to attend this workshop. The 25th Annual Steps for Autism in Minnesota will be on Sunday, May 18th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the ROC at the St. Louis Park Rec Center. The address is 3700 Monterey Drive in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. The zip code for your GPS is 55416. The event includes a resource fair, a stage show, costumed characters, interactive activities, face painting, and more. Families, autistic adults, and community members are all welcome. This year's Steps for Autism is a self-led walk through the park by the venue. Go to ausm.org to get more information about these and other social and recreational programs, educational events, counseling services, and support groups at the Autism Society of Minnesota. Neurodivergent is a social club rooted in a vision of bringing neurodivergent Minnesotans together to build meaningful connections. Its core principle is to foster an environment where all are treated with dignity and respect, regardless of ability or preferences. Go to their website, neurodivergent.org, for more information, become a member, volunteer, and attend their events. Lisa Morgan and Brenna Maddox invite you to join them for a virtual event called Suicide Prevention for Autistic People, Risk Assessment and Crisis Support. This event will start on Wednesday, May 12th, from 12 to 3 p.m. CDT. Click on the hyperlink on the transcript, Suicide Prevention for Autistic People, to be taken to the event on Eventbrite for all the information you will need. Today's Autistic Moment is here because of the generosity of supporters and sponsors. Please go to todaysautisticmoment.com and select Support Today's Autistic Moment to donate. If you have questions about today's Autistic Moment, please send an email to todaysautisticmoment@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to Today's Autistic Moment, a podcast for autistic adults by an autistic adult. May you have an autistically amazing day. All of the guests meet with me on Zoom to record the interviews. The interview transcripts are provided by Otter. The podcast is prepared and edited on WavePad Masters Edition by NCH Software. The podcast is published by Spotify for Podcasters. The music that you hear is licensed to Today's Autistic Moment by Premium Beat